Good morning, Boston. Ho, ho, my friends. What a show last night. Donald Trump absolutely hijacked the CNN town hall, and it was a spectacle to behold. To me, it was just an absolutely incredible performance on the part of President Trump, especially when you contrast it with Joe Biden. That was the whole night as you were watching Trump go back and forth with Caitlin Collins, that crazy moonbat moderator who clearly was on a mission. As I was just telling Mike before we got on air, Mike tuned in as well, and he said, Jeff, what stood out to me, and this is everywhere, I mean, this is all over social media, she had an agenda. She wasn't there to ask a question like a reporter normally would and let the candidate speak and let his answer be the record, and you decide. You like it, you don't like it, you find it acceptable, you find it unacceptable. Throughout the entire hour, 10 minutes, she repeatedly cut Trump off, wouldn't let him finish his sentence. At one point, she was arguing with him. Just almost screeching, arguing, bickering. It was all talking over Trump repeatedly, over and over and over again. And as I mentioned to Mike, it was supposed to be a town hall. And I said, how many questions was he able to take? What, 4, 5? Mike says maybe 6 tops. So let's say 5 questions in all. It was Trump versus CNN. That's what it really was. It was Trump versus Caitlin Collins, who apparently now, just so that you know, the reason why she was picked to host the town hall last night, she, according to the New York Post, she is going to be the Don Lemon replacement, the replacement for Don Black Hole Lemon slot on CNN prime time. So they've given her now the slot. I think they're going to announce it formally next week. She is very well liked by the president of CNN. And it was obvious she was there on a mission. You can tell her bosses, upper management, told her, your job tonight is not to get to the truth. It's not to ask questions. It's not to set the record straight and let Trump give an answer and let the people decide. No. You're not a journalist. You are a far left-wing activist masquerading as a journalist. And our mission, your mission, is to humiliate Trump tonight, is to try to make him seem crazy, mentally unstable, a yahoo, force him to make mistakes, to say something wild or outlandish that will permanently hurt him going forward. That was the mission. And now he took her to school. He took her to school. She's 31 years old. She thinks she's the smartest person in the room. She's not. Far from it. And Trump ran circles around her. It was essentially a debate. It wasn't really a town hall. It was CNN with someone in Caitlin Collins' ear feeding the questions and feeding the constant rebuttals and arguments and counter-arguments, and she wouldn't stop all night. And Trump went toe-to-toe, and he destroyed her. She, by the end especially, she looked visibly irritated. You can tell she was demoralized. Trump got a standing ovation. He got cheers from the CNN audience. At the end, they were all cheering him as well. He won over the audience. He came across as wise, articulate, sharp, funny, witty. His answers, I thought, on most issues were great, absolutely great. And he exposed her. He exposed her for the charlatan and the political assassin that she is. And she's not very good at debating. My advice to CNN, don't bring a knife to a gunfight. And Trump, I mean, he did it with flair. He did it with savvy. He was sharp. He didn't need a teleprompter. He didn't need assistants and aides telling him what to say and what not to say. The difference between him and Joe Biden, it's like night and day. He was composed. He was presidential. This man is ready to lead the country again. And by the time everything was said and done, you can see on her face, she failed. She failed miserably. On the faces of the CNN panel, it was pathetic after the debate. Tapper, I thought, was going to get a heart attack. He came out right away. He lied. First 15 seconds of the town hall. He lied. Tapper, I thought, was going to break down in tears. The CNN panel looked like a defeated army because he took the best that CNN could throw at him, and he emerged stronger, tougher, better, more popular than ever. From the very beginning, as I predicted, I said this is an ambush. They were going to come after Trump, but Trump was ready. She hit him on January 6th. She hit him on, you name it, on the E. Jean Carroll case. He was hilarious when he talked about who E. Jean Carroll was, who she is, what they hid from the jury. And he had the audience eating out of the palm of his hand. And you can tell she got more and more flustered as the night went on. She couldn't lay a glove on him. CNN began to realize almost immediately they made a fatal mistake. Donald Trump's biggest strength, and you saw that last night on full display, was his ability to directly communicate with ordinary common people in the United States. And that's why the strategy has been from Fox News, the rhino globalists at Fox, to the big broadcast networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, to This Is CNN, to the entire corrupt corporate media. Blackball Trump. Blackball him. Don't let people hear what he has to say. Caricature him. Turn him into some unrecognizable monster. But instead, when he had a chance to speak, it was like the interview he gave with Tucker Carlson before Tucker was eventually let go. When you listen to Trump, eminently reasonable, likable. His answers rebut and refute every single lie thrown at him by his enemies, by the Democrats, and of course by the fake news media complex. And so the more he got to speak last night, you can tell he fed off the energy of the room. The more people liked him. And then CNN began to realize, OMG. Again, the more oxygen we give him, the stronger and stronger he gets. Now they don't know what to do because the ratings for them last night were sky high. But the more he talks, the stronger he gets. CNN went for Trump, and they blew it. 6:19 on the great WRKO. Okay, Trump went into the lion's den, and he slayed the lion. In this case, this is CNN. Trump destroyed Caitlin Collins. She turned it into a debate, and it blew up and backfired. There's no question. It blew up on her. It blew up on CNN, and CNN is getting it from both sides. I'm going to get to this a little bit later, both the right and the left, for different reasons, obviously. But what is now almost a consensus, she lost control of the event last night. Why? Because she wasn't acting like a reporter or a journalist or a host. She was trying to debate Trump. She tried to turn it into Caitlin Collins, Caitlin versus Donald. And Donald destroyed her. I mean, if this was a boxing match, he knocked her out in the first round, and it was devastating. In fact, at times, it was funny. He was funny. He was witty. He was quick on his feet. You can tell she got increasingly irritated, flustered. She could not trip him up. Her goal was to try to make him look crazy, insane, irresponsible, say something that would humiliate him, mock him. And instead, the more the night went on, the more the CNN audience, you can tell, was loving and appreciating, and many of them agreeing with everything Trump was saying. CNN was there to try to break him. And instead, to give Trump his due, he stood his ground. He stood his ground on everything. He stood his ground on Roe v. Wade. He stood his ground on Ukraine. He stood his ground on the Second Amendment. He said he was going to pardon most of the January 6ers. And in fact, the audience started to cheer and applaud. I thought Caitlin Collins' head was going to explode at that point. So he stood his ground again and again, but visibly now, you can see she was getting upset. She's like, the guy just won't cry uncle. He just won't toe the line. And now he starts to expose Biden's record. She never wanted to talk about Biden. All she wanted to do was smear Trump over and over and over. And instead, he turned it right around on her, the Biden regime, and the Democrats. And he pinned them to the wall. Roll cut 1B, Mike.
Our country has gone to hell. Our borders are bad. Our military has been bad. You look at the taxes, you look at inflation, what's happened to inflation, it's just destroying our country. We've really become, in many ways, a third world country. And it's very sad what's happened in this administration. And it's something that will turn around on day one. We were energy independent. Now energy is at a level that we've never had to pay before. Nobody can afford to continue to pay what's happening with energy. But we were energy independent. We were getting out of Afghanistan with strength and with dignity. And instead we got out, we looked like fools. Probably the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
I'm telling you, the woman was such a freaking pest. Then, when he said to her, finally, after maybe about 40 minutes of this, he just looked at her and said, you know, you're a nasty woman. And the crowd just was like, oh, yeah, finally, he said what we're all thinking. She swung again and again, and she missed. She completely missed. Trump, on the other hand, stood his ground, got his message across, and I'll tell you the central point of the whole night. And this is what CNN couldn't prevent. And this is why they made a big mistake, giving him this forum. What Trump made crystal clear, again and again and again, is that the United States, under the Biden regime, is unraveling. As he put it, look, I got my energy bill. $2,600. Now, I believe Grace is the finance minister, and so she takes care of the bills. I think it's over 2 months, which is $1,300 a month. Who the hell can pay $2,600 for a 2-month energy bill? I'm like, this is insane. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to ask all of you. Did you watch last night's CNN town hall? And I don't know. I mean, what did you think? On social media, the reaction was overwhelming. Trump destroyed, crushed Caitlin Collins and CNN. CNN was being mocked mercilessly. She brought an agenda. She tried to ram her agenda through the entire hour and 10 minutes, however it lasted. She talked over Trump. She tried to be argumentative. She tried to turn it into a debate, and Trump ran circles around her. And the contrast between him and Biden could not be clearer. He could think well on his feet, sharp as a whip, knew the issues, was in full command, not just of the town hall, but of everything she threw at him. My question to you, and really now it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Kelly Financial Services. Do you believe the CNN town hall helped or hurt Trump? Overall, was this a big plus or a big minus for the Donald? You know where I stand? He killed it. He absolutely killed it. And you can tell by Caitlin Collins' face by the end of the night, that pained, irritated, flustered face. He won, CNN lost. But that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, Kuhner. If you prefer, you can vote via Twitter, our handle there, at the Kuhner Report. One word, Kuh, N as in Nancy, ER. Jeff, why do you always spell your last name? Because after 10 freaking years on the air, people still misspell my last name. That's why. Okay, 617-266-6868 is the number. Text line 70470. This is a really good email from Lee. Jeff, it was a great New Hampshire town hall. She, meaning Caitlin Collins, the moderator, she went on and on and on, and always ended her last comment to each question with her answer for him. You know, I noticed that. She asked the question, and she keeps cutting him off and won't let him speak, but then, by the end of it, she gives us her answer. Like, this is not about you, man. It's about the candidate. And the former president who's leading in, whether you think he's leading Biden or not, he is. He's certainly leading in the Republican primary right now. So don't the viewers, don't the people of America have a right to know where he stands on the issues? Agree or disagree? She continues. She went on and on about abortion. Now that is true. She would not stop. She kept, oh my God. So you really do support a federal ban on abortion? He's like, well, no, I have to see what's proposed, what's offered to me. He goes, I want this to be something that the country can live with if we do anything on abortion. So he's basically non-committal. And she kept trying to twist it and manipulate it and turn it into, he wants a federal ban. She kept saying it over and over again. He kept saying, no, I'm not saying that. Don't put words in my mouth. According to Lee in New Hampshire, Trump should have asked Caitlin Collins if she was pregnant. I mean, you seem so obsessed with this issue. I'm sorry. Are you expecting a baby or something? Are you debating whether you should have an abortion? Like what? I mean, why this obsession? You keep lingering on this. You won't let it go. She came across, honestly, amateurish, adolescent, and a paid hack. Nothing more, nothing less. And not a very good hack. 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Bill in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Bill, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi.
Jeff, I have a slightly different take than you. Trump turned this around on her and said, it's a shame you're not our vice president. You're a good-looking woman. You're strong as can be. You seem extremely intelligent. You should compliment her and kind of really throw her off her rocker. And when it comes to border questions, Trump should turn that around and say, if we didn't have to pay for these 6 million people to live in our country and support them, we could use all that money and give everyone in the United States that's a resident free health care or something similar to that. He needs to be more positive type of message instead of always, being negative towards other people that are questioning him.
Bill, if you don't mind me asking, did you watch the town hall last night?
I look at it, I'm trying to look at it as if I'm a CNN normal viewer, which I am not. But, I mean, I thought that Caitlyn was ridiculous the way she asked her questions, but when you compare her to Kamala Harris, would she not make a better vice president than Kamala Harris?
Well, yeah, but Bill, I mean, anyone would be better than Kamala Harris. I mean, Bill, that bar is so low. I mean, you know? Well, no, but Bill, let me ask you this, because what he tried to do last night, now again, you know, we may disagree. I mean, that's what life is about. And that's what this show is about. To me, what he made very clear, it was hard because she kept interrupting him, blocking him, arguing with him, but he got his message through, which is the country's in a very dire situation, and he understands our pain, and he understands the country's pain, and this is all at the feet of Biden. And what also came across was that he's very competent, that he can, you know, everything we did under my administration, I can do again. And that was the point he hammered again and again. You know, as he put it, you want $1.87 per gallon gas. I can do it. You want a secure border. I can do it. You want energy independence. I can do it. You want low inflation. I can do it. You want a booming economy. I can do it. You want peace in Ukraine. I can do it. So to me, when I looked at this, I'm like, you get two overwhelming feelings after watching this. One, the country is in serious trouble. And two, he's ready on day one to start fixing our problems. And to me, that's mission. For him, I think that's mission accomplished.
I think Trump did fantastic. But I just think that he should change his tactics to some extent and throw her kind of a compliment, just to throw her off her game right from the get-go.
Yeah, be more Reagan-esque, right? I know what you're saying. Be more Reagan-esque. In other words, you know, use honey, right? It's not just vinegar, but use honey, right, to trap a fly. In other words, be more optimistic, be more forward-looking, throw them off by just being so freaking nice sometimes that it'll make her look even more like an ogre. And it also helps win over people who may not like him, right? In other words, you know, I can't help myself, but I'm starting to like this guy. Right, Bill?
Correct. And plus, he needs to highlight the fact that Kamala Harris is next in line. People need to get that in their head, because Biden is, I mean, he's as close to, you know, going to his last dinner than anyone else, you know?
Well, no, Bill, that's an excellent point. And look, even Van Jones on CNN admitted, he goes, no, I'm not going to lie. If you vote for Biden in 2024, you're voting for President Kamala Harris, because he cannot serve out his second term. Nobody believes that. So you're completely right. Trump, I think that was one of the few failures. I agree with you. I mean, look, it's tough. He's under, you know, constant pressure and attack, and the audience, even those questions were planted. But, you know, you're right. He's got to do a better job of saying, hey, look, it's not just Biden. Who's next? It's Kamala. If you think Biden's bad, oh my, wait till you have President Kamala Harris. Is that what you want? And I think, honestly, the country's going to say absolutely not. Absolutely not. Bill, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Okay. How much time left, Mike? Okay. Literally 1 minute? Okay, forget it. The cut where he turns to her and says, and at this point, it's been about 45 minutes of this. She's constantly cutting him off. She's talking over him. She won't let him finish. She asks the question, interrupts him almost sentence by sentence by sentence, and then gives her answer, or tries to give her answer. Trump then looks at her, and I think this was the real knockout blow, and said, You're a nasty person. I'm going to play that cut coming in, and I'm going to take all of your calls. Did Trump help or hurt himself?
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Oh, that was one of the lines of the night last night. She was insufferable. Oh, my. Oh. Talk about an agenda. Seriously. They don't even pretend to be journalists anymore. So she came after Trump with everything that CNN had. She had an earpiece. You can tell people were feeding her questions and giving her arguments. And she kept looking at this cheat sheet and Trump, nothing. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. No teleprompter, no script that he was reading, it was just the President Trump unplugged. And he made the obvious point. How many thousands of boxes of classified documents that Biden took, and they're in his basement, they're in his garage, they're in his office, they're everywhere. And yet nothing, literally nothing. They've been there for years. And unlike Trump, he doesn't have the power to declassify. Trump, as president, has the power to declassify. And yet there was no raid. The FBI took their word on everything. They could have kept him forever if they wanted. So his point is, look at the double standard. But that goes against the media narrative. And so she had to keep interrupting and arguing and bickering. And so finally he's just like, look, you're not even going to give me a chance. I can't even get 3 words in. And finally, she's a witch. Honestly, she's a witch. She came across as a witch, as an insufferable witch. And so finally turned around and said, you're a nasty person. And the audience was like, finally, you're saying what we're all thinking. But it was one of many amazing lines, amazing moments from last night's, it's a debate. I mean, I keep calling it a town hall, but really it was a debate. CNN took on Donald Trump. Trump won. He killed it. He hijacked the entire town hall and he steamrolled Caitlin Collins. Agree, disagree. Did you watch last night's CNN town hall? And did Trump help or hurt himself? I'm just curious. 617-266-6868. Lisa in Linfield. Thanks for holding, Lisa, and welcome.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I haven't called the show in a long time.
Welcome.
But I had to call today because I never, ever watched CNN. Never. I even had to download the app, activate it, and everything else. So the best thing he did was go on that town hall. He won. And when she kept going on about Ukraine, who do you want to win? Who do you want to win? He said, I want people to stop dying.
Oh, I thought that was one of his best responses. I thought it was a brilliant answer. And notice, Lisa, she wouldn't take his answer, right? He's saying, look, I'm the peace candidate. I will deliver peace. I will end this war. And the woman wouldn't stop. Okay, so you mean you don't want Ukraine to win? Can you tell us right now you want Ukraine to win? Will you call Vladimir Putin a war criminal? And he's like, I want to negotiate an end to the war. What good is it for anyone if I call him a war criminal? Do you have any idea how this is going to complicate negotiations? Like, don't you exist in the real world, so you don't want to call him a war criminal? So you want Russia to win? And he's looking at her like, are you a child? Do you know how the real world works? She kept pushing and pushing her agenda. She did, and I'm like, can you let the guy answer? And instead, she was there to try to make him seem like he's unhinged and unfit to be president. And the only one that came across as unhinged, Lisa, was her. I mean, am I wrong?
Unhinged. He killed it. He won. He won that. And all the moonbats that watch CNN saw it. They got to see Trump for what he really is.
Well, I think, Lisa, look, I think you put your finger on it. That's why CNN made a big mistake. And you can tell on their faces afterwards, they're like, oh, did we blow it? They thought they were going to really humiliate Trump. I mean, just undress him. And instead, what you saw was not the monster, the buffoon that they have been portraying for I don't know how many years now. You heard Trump in his own words. And they realize that, hey, he's moderate, he's sensible, he's articulate, he's funny, he's engaging, he knows the issues. In fact, he's rebutted everything the media's been attacking him. He has an answer for everything. And how come we don't get to hear that answer? So what they saw last night was a former president who's ready on day one to come back. And now they realize we can't ever allow this to happen again, because the more people see of Trump, the more they're going to love him and the more they're going to vote for him. Elisa, is that your sense that he won over many people? I mean, this is a CNN audience. And at the end, they were giving him a standing ovation.
Beautiful. I never watched CNN. That's the first time I did.
Lisa, thank you very, very much for that call. See, that's another thing that people don't realize. That's the charm of Trump. And by the way, I believe why many in Florida love DeSantis. They don't bow to the media. Everyone else bows to the media. They let the media push them and push them and push them. And they slowly bend and contort and you know, typical sleazy politicians. No, he stands his ground like a warrior. No, I'm not going to bend. The truth is the truth is the truth. You may not like it. He kept saying that. I know you don't like it when I say it, but I'm going to say it because it's true. 617-266-6868. Did you watch last night's debate? And did the CNN town hall, in your view, help or hurt Trump? And let me throw this log. Do you think CNN will ever invite him back on again? To me, after the way he undressed them last night, I think this may be the last, no matter how good the ratings, this may be the last time CNN ever has Trump on again, because they got their clock cleaned. Lou in Rhode Island. Thanks for holding, Lou, and welcome.
Jeff, how you doing? I have a number of points to make on this, because remember we talked about this last week. And what I did was I didn't watch the debate. I saw the spin after the debate, which made it look like Trump was terrible. If you go on CNN's website, they have the 8 points you got from the debate. They all make him look absolutely terrible on almost every issue. So I looked at the spin, and then I watched the debate. The debate's nothing like the spin. And I have to give credit to your wife, Grace, because she gave me a really good idea, is that this thing was set up not so much, it was set up for ratings because their ratings stink, but it was also set up to go after the Democrat base, just like that video that Biden put out there. All the stuff like it was Democrat issues. They did that in conjunction with the DNC to shore up their base and make Trump look bad. And he didn't look bad. He looked great. And it looked like there were a bunch of Kuhner country people in that audience. And I got to give them credit for that, for getting in there. But that's it. I think it was all set up with the DNC to make Trump look bad. They're trying to spin it like he looked bad, but they can't do it to anybody who actually watched the debate where he actually defeated her. And the worst thing is she looks like AOC, and she's as nasty as AOC. So he did himself a favor by challenging her. But there's a couple of things that I would have done differently. And I have a suggestion for you too before I get to that. I think we need to have the first ever conservative, moderator only Republican debate in New Hampshire. And I was thinking, like we talked about last week, it should be you and Kuhner Country and Newsmax combined could have you and members of the Newsmax media to go in and actually have a real conservative debate, maybe even bring in Dan Bongino or somebody like that. But we have never had a conservative moderator debate. We only used to have the Chris Wallaces and all the other ones, and Rona McDaniels likes to use the rhinos or Democrats. But we really need a real conservative debate to bring out all the real points. Now, the thing I want to say is I liked what he did. I think if I were him, a couple of nitpicky things, I would have come out holding the Kuhner report that came out yesterday, because you have to look at it just in juxtaposition with what came out from Kuhner yesterday in his committee. And Byron Donald did a hell of a job yesterday talking about that thing, where Biden, they set up all these little LLCs to launder money in from China. And I would have brought that in and said, are you reporting on this? Have you seen this? What are you going to do about this? Are you going to investigate Biden with this report? Did you see what came out today? Because very little of the media actually covered that thing. On January 6th thing, I would have brought out, did you see what Tucker Carlson did? Officer Sticknick was running around like he was perfectly well and doing his job. And the shaman was taken around by the police there. There was the way you presented January 6th was totally different. I would have stuck Tucker in there somehow. And then, but everything else he did, he slammed her. I mean, if you're watching the debate, he won hands down. I mean, the way they spin it is terrible. But when you actually watch it, and the people who watch it, I do think he probably changed some minds of any independents who did watch that debate. What do you think?
Lou, great points. Across the board, great points, as usual. Lou, thank you so much for that call. No, I think there's no question. He won over moderate voters, independents, disillusioned Democrats, or maybe people who voted for Biden in 2020, and they're looking at this and they're like, why is this man not president? I think there's no question. She came across nasty, vicious. And Lou, you kept saying throughout, and you're right, don't get me wrong. You kept saying the debate. Trump won the debate, but it wasn't supposed to be a debate last night. Remember, CNN billed it and called it a town hall. Well, where was the town hall? I mean, there were 5 questions from the audience? Maybe 6. Mike said 6. Okay, I'll take Mike. So whatever, 5, 6 questions. That's it? Usually in a town hall. Look, remember we used to hold town halls, and I think we're going to hold one again. We're going to try to work. I love that idea of a debate among conservatives, or if not, maybe have a town, when we had Ted Cruz, when we had Donald Trump in 2016, we had, Kuhner Country town halls. Well, what do? I take about 5 minutes, and I ask about 2 or 3 of the really big questions. The ones like you gotta ask Kuhner. And then after that, I'd throw it open to you. And it goes on for a good hour, 15, hour and a half. It's question after question there's 15, 20 questions. Because people have a lot of different interests or different questions they want to ask. It was her versus him. And it was intentional. And look, they can spin this till the cows come home. People who saw it know exactly what happened. They brought everything they had against them, and everything missed. And he, on the other hand, he hit her and hit the media and hit the Democrats, and he hit Biden again and again and again and again. And one of the most devastating, there were several where he really it was some brilliant answers. The one about E. Jean Carroll, where he starts to describe what a whack job she is. And he starts giving examples of how crazy she is that the judge would not allow key facts about her into the case. It was hilarious.
Or her cat was named Vagina. The judge wasn't allowed to put that in. All of these things. But with her, they could put in anything. Access Hollywood.
This is a jury of 9 people who found you liable of sexual abuse. Do you think that will deter women from voting for you?
No, I don't think so, because I think the whole thing, just so you understand, ready? I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I read.
And he went into a really good riff about how he rarely goes there, how he owned properties right near the Bergdorf Goodman, how everybody knew him in Bergdorf Goodman. And he's like, and suddenly now we're going to go up to the 6th floor right next to the cash register. And she's claiming there's nobody there. And then she's claiming that all the dressing room doors are locked, but this one isn't locked. And she says, let's come in here, Donald, and throw lingerie at each other. And then I on the spot, I raped her. The audience was laughing, like how preposterous. And she had to cut him off because it's like, oh no, we can't let the truth get the cat can't get the cat out of the bag. By the way, who the hell, forgive me, what kind of a whacker, what kind of a nut job calls their dog or their cat vagina? Who does that? Seriously, who does that? And then Trump mentioned how he, in fact, kind of knew her ex-husband. He goes, yeah, there's a picture of us. This is decades ago. I knew her husband. He's African-American. He was a sportscaster. He goes, what none of you are reporting is, this is what Trump said at the town hall, is that E. Jean Carroll called her ex-husband, who's black, quote unquote, an ape. An ape. He goes, the judge didn't allow that in. I mean, anything prejudicial against me, he let in. Anything. But when it came to her, he excluded everything. Because I wanted to show what a vicious, racist, crazy woman she is. And you can tell, Caitlin Collins' face was like, oh my God. No, that's not supposed to happen. Right away, she went to Georgia. Right at that point, okay, now they're going to get you in Georgia, Donald. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. He kept doing it over and over and over again. And whether it was on the economy, on inflation, on border, on energy, on Ukraine, you name the issue. You can tell he's got his finger right on the pulse of the entire country. And they're like, this is not going according to script. This guy, he's ready. He's ready. His agenda is what the country wants. We're not humiliating him. He's humiliating us. He's turned the tables on us. 617-266-6868 is the number. And you want to know how you know he won? What was trending on social media last night? CNN, never again. CNN, never again. Liberals, moonbats, were denouncing CNN, saying she lost control of the debate. Trump is making CNN and liberals look bad. The libs were admitting it, saying, oh my God, how could you give him a voice? How could you let him speak? Oh no. So on social media, AOC freaked out on social media. How dare CNN give him a platform and to then run circles around Caitlin Collins? That's the final blow. So CNN, the right was mocking him and the left was viciously attacking him. That's why you look at the panel afterwards, they had this look on their face like a defeated army. They're like, we thought we were going to get the Donald. We set up an ambush. It was a trap. We were going to take him out. And instead, he massacred all of us. CNN's ratings are going to continue to fall. He may have blown up whatever audience they have. It was genius on his part. He uses them to get his message out while simultaneously alienating CNN's viewership from CNN. You killed two birds with one stone. And he did it with flair. He did it with panache. He did it with wit. and he did it being in full command of the issues, of the facts, of his faculties. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay. Ho, ho. It was Trump versus CNN, and it wasn't even close. Trump by a country mile. Okay, did you watch last night's debate? It was a town hall, but it really turned into a debate. And do you think Trump helped or hurt himself? You know what I think? He crushed CNN, but that's me. What say you? 617-266-6868. Lines are jammed. Phil in the great state of Missouri. Thanks for holding, Phil, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff, I didn't get a chance to watch the debate, the town hall, but if Trump was as strong as you're saying and listening to the clips, he definitely sounded great. How do you think this impacts the Republican primary and the candidates that did watch? Do you think this could force some people out or maybe even, pull some people in? I'll hang up and just hear your perspective. Thanks.
Thank you, Phil. Well, my overall sense after last night's debate, and this is what I told Grace right away. By the way, she's going to be on today at 9. She wasn't on yesterday because Ashton, he's got strep throat. But he's doing better. So she wasn't on yesterday. We're going to have her on today at 9. So you're going to want to hear what she has to say. Cause we're slightly looking at it from a slightly different point of view. But what I told her was, I think he won the Republican primary last night. Look, we'll have to see how he does against DeSantis and the debates among other Republican contenders. But he looked very strong, very sharp. Age is clearly not an issue with him. Very much in command, very forceful. And I think a lot of the people now are running to be his vice president. I think that's more, what you're seeing, except for a few of the diehard, never Trump rhinos. And they're there to try to trip him up, embarrass him, attack him, score points with the establishment. But for all intents and purposes, unless he really starts to stumble in the debates, if he's continuing with this form last night, honestly, no, I don't think anybody can touch him. What you saw last night is what the Democrats fear, that Trump unplugged can so connect with ordinary Americans like no other politician since Reagan. And, Sandy made a brilliant point to me when we were off air. She said, Jeff, while the debate was going on, I know it's a town hall, but it degenerated into a debate. While the town hall was going on, Biden was speaking to reporters. Now, why? This wasn't an accident. The White House wanted people to focus on him and what he had to say about George Santos being arrested, the congressman from New York, and everything else. And nobody watched Biden. But they were trying again to distract and deflect. They did the same thing that very morning yesterday. Here you have Kuhner revealing that Biden and the Biden crime family established a network of 20 plus shell companies in which they were taking over $10 billion. We have the bank records. We have the bank receipts. It's now irrefutable. From Chinese entities directly tied to the Chinese Communist Party and from this Romanian oligarch who, by the way, was arrested for bribery and money laundering. And they go, we've got him dead to rights. It was devastating, absolutely devastating. Biden claimed that he and his family never took a dime of Chinese money. After yesterday, he's a complete liar. He's a complete, incorrigible liar. So Comer has this, devastating press conference. Well, what do? They arrest Congressman Santos at the exact same time for guess what? Tax fraud. bribery, wire fraud. I'm thinking, how come Hunter isn't being arrested? How come James, Biden's brother, isn't being arrested? How come Biden himself isn't being arrested? Not that you can arrest the president, but in other words, how come the Biden crime family isn't in handcuffs? But the point is this. They did it to distract attention and take off the radar Comer's explosive revelations and press conference. It didn't work. Last night, they tried to have Biden give basically a Q&A with some reporters. And it didn't, to distract and deflect from Trump and the CNN town hall. It didn't work. And you see, that's their problem. The more Trump talks, the stronger he gets, the more people like him, the more he connects. And, you know, Grace made a fascinating point. She goes, Jeff, even with Caitlin Collins talking over him and constantly cutting him off and arguing and debating and being really rude, just as he said it, you're a nasty woman, okay? You're a nasty person. He still got all his points across. He effectively rebutted everything the Democrats have been saying about him for 2.5 years. But most people have not heard it. They haven't seen it because they've blackballed him. Well, last night, there he was, unplugged. And when you hear what he says, you're like, I'm going to vote for him. This is not the caricature that I've been reading and seeing about for the last 2.5 years. It's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So what you can tell from last night, that's why CNN, again, they made a huge mistake. They were so obviously out to get him. She so clearly had an agenda that it made Trump's point again. You know, he's kind of looking at a couple points. He's looking at the audience like, and he's pointing with his hand at her, like just, and he's like, can you believe her? Like, is she so afraid of what I have to say? And what I'm saying, is it so, energy independence, does that scare you? Peace in Ukraine, does that scare you? A secure border, does that scare you? Low inflation, does that scare you? In other words, what are they so afraid of? Okay, let's go to Howard in New Hampshire. He was actually at the CNN town hall last night. Howard, thanks for holding and welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. The event last night was pretty amazing. One of the things that we really enjoyed was the enthusiasm that the crowd showed toward, President Trump. Lots of cheers for him. I don't know if it was audible on TV. It certainly was there. But one of the things I noticed was there's a lot of questions from the audience that frankly just never got to, they were never asked because they were too busy doing gotcha questions from the past that frankly are inconsequential to the presidency for the next election. The next thing is Trump was absolutely hilarious. He's always been and done a very good job in handling the media in their wicked ways, if you will. And he showed that in full force last night. Absolutely cleaned the floor with the host there. And I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he hangs in there, to be honest with you. And the last observation, I got back to the house just in time to watch the CNN cover the coverage of that, and I couldn't believe them. They talking about how President Trump didn't answer the question on Ukraine. No, he did answer the question on Ukraine. He just did what he's very good at, and that's not revealing exactly how he's going to fight a battle in the future if he has to.
Well, he didn't just answer what, see, they kept saying this all the time. He didn't answer questions. No, he did. He just didn't give them the answer that they wanted. That's the problem. You know? Howard, I got to ask you this. What was the sense in the crowd regarding the debater? She was really a debater, not a moderator, but the host, Caitlin Collins, because when we were watching on screen, oftentimes she seemed flustered, irritated, annoyed. You can tell she had an agenda and it wasn't succeeding, and it started to really bother her, upset her as the night went on. Did you perceive that as well?
Oh, it was more than a perception. The audience was audibly upset with her. We literally said, "Come on," with some of the questions that she kept going after him with, and she wasn't getting to ask real questions. It was just like again, just trying to trap him in one event or the other, of the past, and the audience was audibly upset with that. And I don't know how much of that came through on screen, but it was certainly
no, nothing
visible and audible.
What came across was she was very upset. You can see that. And you can see she got really more and more and more discombobulated. You can just tell on her face. She was angry. She was, you can tell. Her face was scrunched, her body language. It was failure after failure after failure. But the way CNN presented the audience, it was like basically everybody was calm, nobody was reacting. You got none of that the audience was telling her to stop, come on, this is being ridiculous now. You're targeting the guy, you're trying to bully him, you're trying to browbeat him. You got none of that from watching the screen last night. Howard, I've got to ask you, what was when you walked out afterwards, what was the general consensus among many in the audience? What did they think of Trump and his overall performance?
So the few people that I talked to, they were happy with the performance, but very disappointed in the show itself, just because of what happened. Many people I heard say, in effect, that he did President Trump did a great job. We didn't expect anything less, and then we're really disappointed in the way the host handled this presidential town hall.
Interesting. Howard, before I let you go, after watching him last night, do you think he's now going to be the nominee for the Republican Party? Because I got to tell you, from what I saw, he looked in full command. He looked, sharp, witty, funny, experienced, composed. Really, you're right, Mike. Really composed, presidential. He's ready to go back into the Oval Office. He's ready day one.
Yeah, I think, just being honest here, I think overall that President Trump is ready to be the nominee and probably will be the nominee. I don't see many other people being able to accomplish what he's accomplished as a candidate for the presidency. He could work on perhaps refining some answers, but I think overall perfect. I think he's ready to go.
Howard, thank you so much for that call. I really, really appreciate it. 617-266-6868 is the number. So even the members of the audience, you see, I didn't perceive that watching, that the audience was like, moaning and, oh, come on, leave him alone. This is ridiculous. This is a hit job. Can we ask a few questions? This is not all about you trying to get him at every turn. So I didn't get that, because I think the CNN producers tried to mask that, and I think on that part they did a pretty good job. But you couldn't hide her frustration, her anger, and her irritation on her face. She couldn't hide it. She kept trying to get him, and she just couldn't. Now, let me give you an example. Here are two cuts I want to play back to back. This is an example of how Trump just took command of the stage. And Caitlin Collins couldn't handle it. Listen now to Trump. This is her. She kept going on about January 6th, and she kept going at over and over and over. You're responsible. Do you accept responsibility? Will you apologize? She wouldn't let it go. So at this point, Trump says, okay, I didn't want to do it, but since you're forcing me, and he pulls out a paper from his pocket, from his inside pocket, and he goes, I want to read to you what I said on Twitter and what I said on my video as the so-called riot, as the insurrection was taking place. Listen to this. Roll cut 9, Mike.
You did tell your supporters to come to Washington. You tweeted about it, about that speech that happened on the rally.
Am I allowed to say that?
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter. Now use Truth Social. I think it's far superior, okay? I hope everybody's on Truth.
So it's just funny how he's plugging Truth Social. The guy's hilarious. But anyway, but then he goes, no. Let me tell you exactly what I said. And why has nobody seen or heard about this? Listen to Trump's response. Roll cut 9A, Mike.
If you look January 6th, this is before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there. I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on Truth, and I'm staying on Truth. Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That was very early.
Mr. President, I looked at the same timeline that you did.
But you didn't report that. You know why? Because it was taken down.
We did report it. I was reporting that thing.
It was taken down and it wasn't.
But when it was...
Now, see, bingo. Now, when you hear him, you're like, wow. How many times did he call for peace? How many times? But Twitter took it down. They took it down in order to frame him. That was the whole point. Now, Liz Cheney never reported any of this. The January 6th committee never reported any of this. So if you're watching this, you're like, he really said all that? And they censored him? They took it down? Then Trump said, I asked for at least 10,000 National Guard troops. Where were Pelosi? Where was the mayor? They were the ones who turned down all of that protection. 617-266-6868. Okay. Text line is on fire. 781. Jeff, as I have stated many times, our country isn't divided by politics and policies. We are divided by the media's coverage of politics and policies. And Caitlin Collins and CNN proved it last night. We will not survive if this keeps up. She did not do herself or CNN any favors. Oh, man. The one thing you get very clear after last night, they're not interested in the truth. The last thing they're interested in is truth, facts, evidence, anything like that. It's do the Democrats' bidding, ram down their radical left agenda, no matter what the cost, no matter what the price. 617-266-6868. This is an absolutely, really, I think, brilliant text. Jeff, Caitlin Collins started to smolder like a vampire the more Trump spoke the truth. And last night was a stark example of truth versus lies. Trump punished Fox and he murdered CNN. Could not agree more. Could not agree more. Punishing Fox, it's obvious. He went on CNN and gave him a massive ratings boost. But on murdering CNN, you got to see the backlash from liberals and left-wingers and CNN viewers. Oh, man. They're boycott CNN, never again CNN, never watch CNN again. That's all that was trending on social media last night. It was an absolute genius move by Trump. Because by coming on and, running circles, doing rings around Caitlin Collins, the CNN audience, whatever is left, will never forgive CNN for this. That they gave Trump, A, a platform, and B, that he was so able to effectively outmaneuver and outdebate CNN. Their world is crashing down around them, and now, whatever little audience CNN had, kaboom, it's gone. It's gone. Okay, very, very quick, because I want to go right back to the phone lines. What was most revealing last night, well, several things, but one of the things that stood out is how many times Caitlin Collins lied. Now, Sandy is going to get the cut. She's in the process of getting it. When Trump said, hey, look, how could I have been in favor of an insurrection when I was the one who personally requested from both Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of D.C., Muriel Bowser, send up to 20,000 National Guard troops, at least 10,000. Caitlin Collins comes out and says, unbelievably, well, but they don't have control over the National Guard or the Capitol Police. That's a bald-faced lie. Of course you needed Pelosi's green light. Of course you needed Bowser's green light. And both of them turned Trump's request down. I mean, this woman is so ignorant. Either she's a liar or she's so ignorant. You don't know that the Speaker of the House controls security on Capitol Hill? You don't know that? Or you're trying to pretend you don't know that? So as Mike said to me, he goes, look, Jeff, I'm not like you. I'm not into the inside baseball of politics. But I'm watching this, and he goes, even I know that Pelosi's in control of security, and that had she approved the 10,000 National Guard troops, there would have been 10,000 National Guard troops. And for Collins to say that Pelosi has no control, I knew that Collins was lying. So if she's lying about this, as Mike told me off air, then what else is she lying to me about? Let me give you one more. Trump kept saying we're on the verge of completing our border wall. She kept cutting him off saying, you only completed 52 miles. It was only 52. You were ineffective. And Trump kept trying to say, no, we refurbished a lot of the old wall. We built a lot of new wall. It was hundreds of miles. She kept saying, that's false. That's not true. It was only 52 miles. And she kept repeating it over and over and over again. Here are the facts. Fact checkers came out and said Collins lied. Over 700 miles of the border wall was funded under Trump. Over 450 miles was refurbished/built. The number is not 52. The number is 458 miles of wall under Trump. She lied again and again and again, because that's all CNN can do, is lie, lie, and lie. Amanda in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Amanda, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
I did watch the debate last night, or the town hall, excuse me. And it was funny because yesterday when you were saying, oh, do I watch it because of ratings? I don't want to give them the ratings. I thought to myself, I'm like, no, you got to give him the ratings. We are, all of Kuhner country should have watched it and should have given him the ratings last night just to watch him go up, 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 and then crash and burn today. And I would love to see what their ratings are tonight. Not that we'll ever get the truth, because these people, they believe their own lies. I think Caitlin Collins last night, she sounded terrible. It makes you sound so immature and unprofessional when you keep interrupting like that. And she didn't, I don't think she helped herself at all. But
Amanda, she's now Don Lemon's permanent fill-in on prime time. Seriously, CNN now says she's the future of the network. I swear to you, they're going to announce it next week, according to the New York Post. I'm just going by what I read in the Post. They're going to give her the prestigious 9 p.m. slot. She's the future of CNN.
Because I turned to my boyfriend on the couch last night and I said, oh, her career is over. And he goes, honey, it's CNN. Like, she'll be fine. But I thought Trump was fantastic last night. Absolutely fantastic. But I do think he may have hurt himself a little bit in that he may have been too good. I think the Democrats are going to be scrambling now. And it almost makes you wonder. I mean, you saw what happened with this defamation case. So if he's found liable for that crap, like, what's going to happen with this, Elvin Bragg witch hunt? They are going to put him in jail if they can, because they have nothing left. They have absolutely nothing left. After last night, they don't have a leg to stand on. If the American people actually get to hear what Trump stands for, they're done. They're done.
Amanda, if you don't mind me, Amanda, are you friends with my wife by any chance? Grace?
You know what? Every time Grace is on, I'm like, we need to go get wine, because we should be.
Because that's exactly what Grace said to me last night after the debate. She said, you know what, Jeff? If Trump made any mistake, exactly what you said, he was too good. I go, well, what do you mean too good? She goes, now they're never going to put him on network TV or CNN, they'll never let him do another town hall. The media is going to look at this and say, we can't give him another platform. And now they're going to put him behind bars. She goes, Jeff, mark my words. He's going to go to prison on some bogus, trumped up charge, because now that's the only way to stop him. What you saw last night was politically invincible. Invincible. So Grace agrees with you. If anything, he should have thrown away a few questions or honestly given us something a little bit to criticize him over, because now they're going to have no choice. He's got to go to jail. If not, I don't see how anybody can stop him.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's going to be gross, but hopefully he can hang on. Hopefully people will get money talks, right? So ratings. At least that's what, it should be like. But we'll see. I mean, if they get desperate
the
enough,
only thing, look, and I'm telling you, Trump would take this to the bank. Okay, I don't want to speak on his behalf, but this you can take to the bank. Trump knows very well that the only thing keeping him afloat is us. Really, Kuhner country and patriots, conservatives all over this great nation. We are the ones that have his back. He knows that. We are the army. So he knows if he's going to win, and now he's got a real shot at winning, it's because of us. So if we hang tough and we keep supporting him, believe me, the deep state is going to have a real war on its hands. They're going to try to put him in jail. I get it. But they're going to realize they have at least 65% of the country now that's solidly in Trump's camp.
Yeah, and I hope the country actually wakes up and sees this. I hope a lot of Democrats watched last night, because even when he was answering the questions, like I was saying earlier, they believed their own lies. She turned it around to say, or, about the Ukrainian war, especially. he wants people to stop dying. So you support Russia? Well, no, no. He supports peace.
Oh, I so agree. It was one of his best answers. I think Mike and Sandy think it was his best answer. Grace also last night said she was a brilliant answer. And the way she couldn't accept his answer, that to me was what's shocking. He's like, look, I want peace. I want to end this war. Now, look, it's not going to be a war that's going to end on terms that Putin is going to love, believe me. But we've got to end this war. Oh, so you want Putin to win? I didn't say that. You want Ukraine to lose? I didn't say that. Well, why don't you denounce him as a war criminal? Why don't you denounce him as a war criminal? Well, if I denounce the guy as a war criminal, how can I sit down? Because I got to meet with Putin, I got to meet with Zelensky, and I'm going to hammer out a deal. Well, if I'm Joe Biden and I'm spitting in his face, I can't get Putin to the negotiating table. Like, Trump had this look on his face, like, how old are you? What are you, 5? You don't know how the world works? So it was pathetic on their part. You can see how in the tank they are for the neocon military-industrial complex agenda. War, 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 no matter what. Amanda, he stays on message like he was last night. I don't know. We may see him back in the White House. Amanda, thank you so much for that call, and God bless you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Dave in Pennsylvania. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
Very good. How are you, Dave? After last night,
Jeff.
I was a shot in the arm.
Oh, Jeff, it was like a breath of fresh air, Jeff, after running a marathon or drinking a nice ice cold bottle of Gatorade after a hard workout, Jeff. Because I tell you what, last night was Trump, the epitome of Trump, and how much of a fighter he is for America, taking it to the liberal left, and just it's like a punch in the eyeball, Jeff. I don't think CNN's going to recover. And if that chick is the future of CNN, Jeff, they're in deeper trouble than what everybody thinks, because no one's going to watch them after that act she pulled last night of biasness, Jeff, outright interrupting the president. And I mean the president, because I don't acknowledge Joseph Stalin Bidenoff as my president, Jeff.
Dave, what did you think of Trump's performance when you watch him, the way he handled himself, the questions, the audience, the issues? Has he lost a step in your view, or do you think he's going to win the primary and he is ready to go back to the White House?
Not only is he going to win the primary, he's going to slaughter Biden. After all that stuff that came out with Comer and the rest of the House yesterday when the media covered it, I mean, look at what that gentleman from Florida said. I forget the congressman's name. He was almost close to become speaker. He's a newly elected freshman. He's really good. And
Donald Byrons. Donald Byrons. Yeah,
thank you, Mr. Byron. He said, look, we got a Pulitzer Prize for you, but you're not looking into it. You know, the media, because, Jeff, that Pulitzer Prize is to see how far left the media can go. That's what it is. It's a fool's prize, not a Pulitzer. It's a foolish prize.
Dave, I'm with you. Dave, if you were to handicap this, is Trump now going to win the Republican nomination? I mean, I know we have debates. I know it's still early. But based off of last night's performance, do you think now anybody in the Republican field can stop him?
Jeff, hands down, it's going to be like taking a lamb to the slaughter. I mean, I hate to say it, Jeff. I like some of these Republican candidates. They'd be great for cabinet positions. Even DeSantis, I mean, he's done a great job in Florida. And to be honest, Jeff, I don't mean to go negative on Trump. I wish he would stop this DeSanctimonious stuff. We need to be united going into this election. Yes, I'm for Trump, but, you know, he hit the ball out of the park last night. And I love Trump like you do, but this DeSanctimonious stuff isn't going to win points with DeSantis supporters to become Trump supporters. Just like DeSantis being negative toward Trump ain't going to win him the MAGA support. You know, vice versa. And I'm not saying go along to get along or kumbaya, Jeff. But we know that the Republicans are going to crucify the Democrats in this next election, Jeff. I mean, it's common sense. It's like an eyeball in somebody's eye. You know, it's common sense, Jeff. We're going to win. We're going to come back strong, and we're going to make America great again, as we always have had it, Jeff. Even though we're under Biden right now, we got the love of God shining down on America, and with guys like you and Bongino and everybody holding down the fort, Jeff, you know, we're in good hands.
From your lips to God's ears. Dave, thank you so much for that call, as always. Frank in Bedford. Thanks for holding, Frank, and welcome.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm working right now, so I've got to step outside. Trump needs an Academy Award. The commentator needs an anchor to be thrown off the Tobin Bridge. Now, after the CNN commentators would start to talk, I started sitting there and I looked at the life. They don't look good. They look like they're white as a ghost, and they look like they're going to be executed because they're going down. They broke the law. The system of information has caused a lot of deaths, and they know they're done. They did everything they possibly could. It failed. And seeing their faces talking, it was stuttering and stuttering and stuttering. People, go try to rewatch it. You're going to start picking up on little pieces. They look white as a ghost. They couldn't talk correctly. They're coming up with all sorts of baloney. What do you think, Jeff?
Frank, I think you're onto something. Look, they look shell-shocked. They thought we got him. It's on our turf. It's a CNN town hall. Caitlin Collins is an assassin. She's a media assassin. She's going to take him out. Trump's going to make a fool of himself. We're going to trip him up. He's going to say outrageous, ridiculous, outlandish things. And before you know it, boom, he's finished. And instead, they looked at this. Crowd gave him a cheer after cheer, ovation after ovation. He answered almost every question. You're right. I mean, look, not every answer was perfect. I agree with you. But overall, he handled himself very, very well. And to be honest, I think, Frank, he came across even better last night because we're all comparing him in our minds, whether we like it or not, to Biden. I mean, it's natural. It's human nature. He's the president. So you say, well, look at how Biden talks. Oh, my God. Look at Trump. Look at how Biden can address. Oh, my God. Look at Trump. In other words, how nimble Trump was, how sharp he was, how composed he was. And Biden, they're throwing softball after softball after softball. She won't let him get a sentence out of his mouth. And there he is, blasting away, standing tall, confident, bold, courageous, optimistic in terms of winning, brave, standing his ground. Frank, 2024 can't come fast enough. Frank, as always, thank you very much for your call. Okay, very, very quick, because I know a lot of today's show rightly is going to be dominated by the CNN debate, masquerading as a town hall. They're very, very afraid if Trump comes back. And to show you how afraid they are, remember I spoke about that big story about that whistleblower who pointed to a specific document, an unclassified document that the FBI had in the DOJ that specifically details and proves that Biden and the Biden family, but Biden in particular, Joe Biden, was involved in a criminal scheme, bribery in which he took money in exchange to change an official U.S. policy position when he was the vice president. Comer and Grassley subpoenaed the FBI to get that document. Yesterday, unbelievably, the FBI gave their reply. They're not going to hand over the document, even though it's unclassified. They're admitting the document exists, but they're saying for, quote, confidentiality interests, in the interests of, quote unquote, privacy, and not to disclose, quote unquote, sources and methods, we are not going to give you the smoking gun document. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, CNN now in serious damage control mode. She lied. Caitlin Collins, this was a bald-faced lie, like many from last night. We have the documents. We literally have the written documents whereby Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell and the mayor, Muriel Bowser, turned down Trump's request for over 10,000 National Guard troops days before January 6th. Now, the point is simple. If he wanted an insurrection, if he wanted violence, if he wanted people to storm the Capitol, then why was he the one pushing for thousands and thousands of National Guard troops? Now the spin is, well, Pelosi doesn't have control. Of course she does, her and the mayor. Well, it's technically the sergeant at arms. This is now CNN spin. Well, who does the sergeant of arms work for? Pelosi. Like, I mean, how stupid do you think we are? So it's another example. She lied. She got caught lying. And all of it to frame Trump. The seditionist. Seditious conspiracy. There's Trump. He wanted January 6th. And when he pulled out that sheet of paper and he said, well, let me read to you what I wrote the day before. Let me read to you what I posted on Twitter. Let me read to you what I posted on Twitter as it happened. Let me read to you what I said on the video. I came out with a video. And all of this was taken down by Twitter. I was censored. But, so, and you can tell CNN was like, oh no, oh no. Because many people watching are like, geez, we never heard of that. It's the first time we're hearing this. This is why overwhelming majority of Americans do not trust fake news. They don't trust the corporate media. Because this is propaganda and these are obvious lies. You want to talk about disinformation? The biggest purveyors of disinformation is the corporate media and the government. It's not Trump. It's not you. It's not me. 617-266-6868. Did you watch last night's town hall? And what did you make of Trump? Did he help or hurt himself? And in the battle between Trump versus CNN, who do you think won? Who do you think lost? You know where I stand. I want to know where you stand. 617-266-6868. Let's go to Rebecca in Boston. Thanks for holding, Rebecca, and welcome.
Hello.
Rebecca, how are you?
I am good, and I am so happy with last night's performance. It was funny. He was like the president that I love, and like, you know, he just like stood his ground, and everything he said was on point. He pulled out receipts. He stood up for himself, and like, that's my president. Like, that's the Trump that I love. And he didn't go crazy. Like, he sometimes goes off the hinge and like pops off a little bit too much. But you know what? He was like, he said one comment to her, but he stood his ground and he didn't act like he was, you know, out of control. And, you know, everything he said was just perfect. And I was really happy with what he said. And it was funny too. Like, that was like pure, like, that was entertainment to me.
Rebecca, I'm just curious. When he turned to her like 45 minutes in and said, you're a nasty person, and we're going to play it again, so in case we have new people listening, honestly, I thought, well, it was warranted. I mean, that's what I thought. I was like, she had it coming. I mean, am I wrong?
No, and like he didn't say it. He didn't say it in a way like, you know, how everyone's now. I heard CNN after the show and they were like, oh, like this just shows how bad he is to women. And like, no, okay. He got wrongly accused, falsely accused, by the way. And the way he stood up for himself on that was like perfect too. He was like, I swear on my kid's life, I don't know this woman. I met her once. I got a photo with her and that was it. And like, I believed him. Like, he was very believable when he said that. Like, he had nothing to do with this woman. That was a setup. And, like, he swore on his kid's life. And
yeah,
he
that
never...
was I agree with you. That was so powerful when he said that. When he came out and said, look, I never do this. I'm telling you, I'm swearing on my children. I don't know this woman. Never mind raping her. I don't know her. It was authentic. It was raw. It was visceral. It was very powerful. No, Rebecca, I agree with you. He came across as likable. He came across as funny, as witty. He hit it out of the park. Okay, this was one of the key moments of last night's again, it wasn't a town hall, it was a debate. So here was one of the key moments of last night's debate. And by this point, she was annoying everybody. She just wouldn't give him a word edgewise, cutting him off, getting irritated, flustered, talking over him, arguing with him, wouldn't let him finish his point. I mean, it was like, is this a town hall or are you trying to beat the guy up? So finally, Trump said, enough is enough. Roll cut 3A, Mike.
And I was negotiating with
They're
them.
not
All of a
left,
sudden,
they're
they
bipartisan.
raided my house. They didn't raid the house of Joe Biden. They didn't raid Obama.
Joe Biden didn't ignore a subpoena to get those documents back like
Joe
you
Biden
did. And so
took
that's the question.
1,850 boxes.
But that's the question that investigators have, I think, is why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
It was great. I mean, it was great. She really had it coming. It was like, oh, yeah. Donald, what took you so long, man? I would have said it to her within the first 5 minutes. But he finally, and then he just kept on talking. You know, he made his point. The audience is cheering, and he just, okay, got that out of my system. Let's just keep going. Okay, this is very, very important to show you how Trump completely outmaneuvered CNN. Yes, the ratings are through the roof. Yes, he destroyed Caitlin Collins and CNN last night. No question about it. He rebutted, refuted everything they threw at him. But now the left, they're going Thunderdome on CNN. He just imploded, blew up whatever little audience they had. Listen now to this. AOC, Alexandria Fidel Castro Cortez, went on MS Left BC last night. And you want to see how intolerant, how authoritarian the left has become? She blasts CNN. Now remember, whatever you think of Trump, leading former president, by far the leading candidate in the Republican presidential primary, the latest ABC News Washington Post poll, he's leading Biden 7 points. So right now, if the election was held, he'd be president. CNN has a town hall. CNN is now getting eviscerated by AOC for giving Trump a platform and an audience. And what she tells MSNBC, this is last night, quote, what we saw tonight was a series of extremely irresponsible decisions that put a sexual abuse victim at risk, meaning Eugene Carroll, in front of a national audience. And I could not have disagreed with it more. It was shameful. So now CNN is taking it right on the chin. They're taking both barrels, saying, you gave him a voice? You gave him a chance to get his message out? You gave him a chance to defend himself? Oh my, Eugene Carroll, her life is in danger now. Oh, what you're doing to sexual abuse victims. How could you do this? Pathetic. Pathetic. But the point is, Trump said, okay, I'm going to go on CNN. I'm going to beat them. And I'm going to drive their audience so crazy that they're going to turn on CNN. And by the time I'm done, mark my words, their ratings today are going to be lower than they've ever been. Ever been. Fox is imploding. CNN is imploding. The entire corporate media is imploding. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Gibby in South Boston. Thanks for holding, Gibby, and welcome. Hello, Gibby. Okay, let's see if we can reconnect with Gibby. Let's go to John in Peabody. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
John, how are you?
Very good, thank you. First of all, I thought he had a great debate, as you call it, because that's what it was. It was a one-on-one debate. But my main reason for calling is because you made it when you were talking about the FBI not wanting to give the representative the information. Who runs the country, the FBI or Congress? Who are they to tell Congress we're not giving it to you? And I'll just wait for your answer.
Oh, it's outrageous. No, it's sickening. It's outrageous. It's one of the, look, the debate is that big story, and that's the other big story from yesterday. They are openly now defying a congressional committee. They're openly defying Congress. Now, Kuhner has said he's going to escalate. Kuhner said this is not going to stand. It's a cover-up. It's a clear cover-up. I mean, if Biden is innocent, they would have handed that document over within 2 minutes. So, no, they need to be arrested. Christopher Wray now needs to be held in contempt of Congress, and they need to haul his rear end right in front of Congress, put him under oath, and say, this is unclassified. So don't tell me that you can't hand it over. This is an unclassified document, and you don't want to give it to us? Because you know it's going to blow the whistle on Joe Biden? So, I mean, this is the Nixon tape. Show us the tape, show us the tape, show us the tape. Once the tape was released, it was over for Nixon. This is the smoking gun tape, or the smoking gun document. And now the FBI and the Department of Justice are covering up. So if I'm Kuhner, people start going to jail. You don't hand it over, you people are going to start going to jail. We're going to start making arrests. It's time now to take the gloves off. This is now World War III. So, and that's why they had to arrest George Santos, because Kuhner discussed that yesterday in his bombshell press conference. So what they did was they said, let's bury that news by arresting a member of Congress. And what did they arrest him for? This is what it turns my stomach. Not that I care for George Santos. Don't get me wrong. I can't stand crooks. But think about this. Tax evasion, wire fraud, corruption, bribery. And all I'm thinking is Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, James Biden. This is the Biden crime family. I mean, we've got the receipts, we've got the Treasury documents, the bank records. So fine, go after Santos. But he's small fish. Instead, you're doing this, and my news feed blew up. George Santos arrested. Oh, everybody. Fox went crazy. New York Times, Wall Street Journal. Meanwhile, you have the FBI deliberately sitting on a document, refusing to comply with the subpoena that shows conclusively, beyond the shadow of a doubt, detailing that Joe Biden, while vice president, took money, bribery, in exchange for a U.S. policy position. Treason. So, to me, if I'm going to criticize Trump on yesterday's debate, I would have mentioned that. I would have, no matter what, even if you got to walk in and say, look what Kuhner just showed, and what are they hiding? And what, by the way, CNN did not cover the Kuhner press conference, neither did MSNBC, conveniently, and just hit him over the head and say, why didn't you cover this? This is the biggest scandal of the last 200 years. We have a traitor, a crook, and a criminal in the White House. Margaret in Boston. Thanks for holding, Margaret, and welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I believe that the town hall was supposed to go another 20 minutes. I actually looked at the clock when it stopped, and I was disappointed that it wasn't going. But clearly, they stopped it because he was doing too well, and they just didn't know what to do, so they stopped it.
Well, Margaret, it's like a boxing match. I mean, I don't know if you follow boxing at all, but it's what's called a TKO. It's not a knockout. It's, you know, when a fighter's being pummeled and pummeled and pummeled and doesn't quite collapse, and then the referee steps in and says it's over. You know, or the ring, the manager throws in the towel and just says, okay, it's over. We're stopping the fight. That's what that meant. Because you're right. It ended at 9:10 and it was scheduled to go all the way to 9:30. And that was no mas, no more, no more. That was Caitlin Collins and CNN saying, we're just taking too much of a beating. It's over. TKO for Trump. She can't go on anymore. We can't go on anymore.
Yeah, I agree. So I just thought I'd point out, to me, that says it all. They just couldn't do it anymore. So,
you know, and Margaret, think about it. I mean, aren't they supposed to be a news organization? It's not about beating someone. It's about getting the facts and the evidence and reporting. So they were so unmasked last night. It was a disaster for CNN. Margaret, great call. Please don't be a stranger, Margaret. Call again. Did you watch last night's debate? Who won?
I never met this woman. I never saw this woman. This woman said, I met her at the front door of Bergdorf Goodman, which I...
850 on the great W. I was laughing like crazy last night. I was laughing my rear end off. I mean, it just... And you could tell. She's like, oh my... That's not supposed to come out. How crazy E. Jean Carroll is. That's not supposed to happen. Do you think you're going to lose women's support? No, because she's a whack job. That's why. 850 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. All right, Dr. Grace warming up in the bullpen. She didn't come on yesterday. Ashton's got strep throat. She had to take him to the doctor, but he's feeling better. Thank the Lord. And she's ready. So she'll be up in about 10 minutes. But let's go right back. The lines are blazing. David in Bridgewater. Thanks for holding, David, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. Jeff, I want to know one thing. This so-called department store where Donald Trump was, those high, expensive places, where were the cameras around the dressing rooms? Because 90% of the places today have cameras. So there's no evidence of anything. So how can they even hold him responsible for anything that a woman's saying?
I'm so with you, Dave. And there's security guards, and there's a cashier. And if you've ever been to that department store, people, I can't tell you how many emails I've gotten. They go, Jeff, this is in the heart of Manhattan. It's on Fifth Avenue. It is, when I say crawling with people, it is packed every day of the year. So, and this is Trump's argument. He goes like, do you have any idea how many people are in that store at all times? And that I would have allegedly raped her and nobody would have seen a thing? It is physically impossible. It's impossible. Never mind all the other crazy things in her story. So, no, I mean, it was a put-up job. And, you know, and the thing is, they tried to use it last night. CNN did. It just didn't work. Because it's so preposterous, the jury can say whatever they want in Manhattan. The country doesn't believe it.
Jeff, we knew he was going to be on defense last night. I couldn't watch it because I don't have CNN no more or anything like that. But we knew he was going to be defensive last night. And he came out, I heard the clips, and the way she was tossing them questions, he just kicked it all back to her.
Well, Dave, you know what they say? The best defense is a good offense. And Trump was on offense almost the entire night. And by the end, I mean, look, the fact that they had to cut it off 20 minutes early. I mean, Dave, that's, you know, I mean, that's a technical knockout. That's the ref or the manager or the corner throwing in the towel and saying, no more. No more. My fighter is getting the living daylights beaten out of her. Then no more. It's over. He beat her like a drum. And now the whole world knows Donald Trump a little more. And what they saw last night, they like.
My phone today, Jeff. When I get a chance, I'm going to watch it. Have a good day, Jeff.
God bless you, Dave. Thank you for that call. Really, you know, I wouldn't mind rewatching it. I mean, it was fun. That was the other thing. See, he's got this intangible, which no other politician has. He's entertaining. It's not dry. It's not boring. It's not wonky. And he's real. He's just real. Nothing scripted, nothing packaged, nothing fake. So he's just, he's got no filter. It's just, you want to know what I really think? Here's what I really think. I mean, in fact, at one point, he's disarmingly honest. He told the Republicans, hold the line on the debt ceiling, push ahead with cuts, because we're going broke. We got to pay off debt. Our country's going to go bankrupt. And then they turn around and say, well, if you were president, would you like that? He goes, no. No, if I was president, no. I don't want to get into a fight with the Democrats in Congress. But as he said, I'm not president. So I'm just telling Republicans what I think they should do. And the audience just starts laughing because it's such a real, honest, raw answer. Rocco on the North Shore. Thanks for holding, Rocco. Welcome.
It was a great TKO, Jeff. They didn't just take him down for the round; he took him down for the count. Let me switch over to my Simon voice, Jeff. People like that better than me. So, yesterday's debate, Jeff, it was just phenomenal. President Trump took CNN the way Grant took Richmond. He was presidential, intellectual, angelic, and Machiavellian. Well, Caitlin Collins looked like Pee Wee Herman being busted by the vice lord in a movie theater. And, yes, I have so much for you that's pertinent today, but if I could, let me just do a quick announcement for you. This is...
Hold on, did we lose Rocco?
Mr. President, you think the U.S. should default if the White House does not agree to the spending cuts Republicans are demanding?
You might as well do it now because you'll do it later. Because we have to save this country. Our country is dying. Our country is being destroyed by stupid people, by very stupid people.
You once said that using the debt ceiling as a negotiating wedge just could not happen. You said that when you were in the Oval Office.
That's when I was president.
So why is it different now that you're out of office?
Because now I'm not president.
It's a great answer. I mean, that's what I mean. It's so disarming. I mean, Rocco, what do you think? I think we got Rocco back. I mean, Rocco, that's what he just danced. I mean, he ran circles around her. I mean, it was just, she's trying to make him seem like, how could you be saying this? And he's like, look, we're going broke. They got to hold the line. Yeah, but you didn't like it when you were president. Yeah, because I was president, but I'm just telling you, that's what we got to do. What else am I going to tell you? And the audience is like, you're just yucking it up. Rocco, do you think CNN will ever have Trump on again?
No, I do not, Jeffrey. I believe that he was so phenomenal that they will lose their ratings they already have. He is the president, the rightful president, the greatest one that ever lived.
Simon/Rocco, great imitation, by the way. Thank you so much for that call. Really good stuff. Okay, joining me now. We didn't have her on yesterday because poor Ashton was sick, but he's doing much better. So we got her on today. She watched the debate with me last night. Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Vuoto, former nationally syndicated talk show host, commentator, pundit, analyst, and of course, my better half. And yes, as I always say, I married way up. Grace, how are you?
I am well. Jeff, when was the last time you and I had such a great time watching CNN?
No.
It's been 30 years.
So I got to ask you, I know you kind of look at it slightly of a different opinion, a little bit, than I do regarding Trump and his performance last night. You thought he absolutely killed it, but for slightly different reasons. So, A, what did you make of just the town hall in general and Caitlin Collins? And how did you think Trump did in particular?
Jeff, I think that Trump was masterful. And what happened last night is he really cracked the stone. He cracked a very important stone. Remember this, since the riots on January 6th of 2020, the media has muzzled him. They have done everything to prevent him from speaking directly to the people. And yesterday, he did that in an unprecedented manner. This was even better than his interview with Tucker Carlson. It was his best performance since the January 6th riots. And one of the reasons it was so powerful is he was able to dismantle the lies that they have perpetrated over and over again. He confronted each and every one of the lies, and suddenly the public realized, oh my gosh, we have not gotten his version of events. Every step of the way, we have not heard his perspective. So this was a key moment. They have colluded to censor him. And they thought, okay, we can let him speak again, but we're going to let him speak and he's going to hang himself. Instead, the more he spoke, the more he hung the media.
To me, this was his best answer. I mean, he had many very good answers, don't get me wrong. But I think this was maybe his best answer when she kept pressing him on the war in Ukraine. And will you send them more money? And will you now commit to a Ukraine victory in the war? Will you call Vladimir Putin a war criminal? And Trump kept insisting, we're sending Ukraine $170 billion. While the entire European Union, and the war's in their backyard, and their economy's as big as ours, yet the Europeans combined are only sending $20 billion. If I'm president, this stops. And within 24 hours, I will negotiate a peace settlement. There will be peace in Ukraine. This war will end. Collins then asked him this. And this was his response, and I want to then get your response. Roll cut 5B, Mike.
Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people and breaking down this country. Now,
can I just follow up on that? You said you don't think in terms of winning and losing. Mr. President, can I just follow up on that because that's a really important statement that you just made there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying.
Notice she just wouldn't accept his answer that he wants a peace settlement.
Well,
it was,
Jeff, listen,
who's going to win? Who's going to lose? What did you make of his response? And do you think that's the message and the point that the American people want to hear?
I felt what that audience felt. They cheered and I was cheering because his answer really spoke to my heart. His answer was a humanitarian answer. We all want those people to stop dying. We want this carnage to end. We don't want to get lost in a policy wonk discussion about Donetsk. We don't care about Donetsk. Who gets Donetsk? Who cares? We want people to stop dying. And his answer really showed us the common sense, muscular approach that he used to take to foreign affairs that ultimately is more compassionate than anything that the liberals or the rhinos are saying today.
Do you think ultimately, did he help or hurt himself after going on CNN last night?
He helped himself enormously because he really re-energized the base. He was so bold. He said he's going to pardon the January 6th protesters. I was cheering at that. He spoke about Ashley Babbitt, that there's been no justice for her. That case still haunts me, that Ashley Babbitt was killed on that day. She didn't deserve to be killed on that day, and he stood up for her. And you know what's really interesting? Even the CNN focus group at the end, they were saying, Maggie Haberman of the New York Times, David Axelrod, they said, this performance appeals to his base. Yes, it re-energized the base, but more than that, the focus group that they showed later on, it also crystallized that the media's lies are no longer resonating with the people. Some women were asked on the panel about, Jean Carroll. One woman said, look, this is something that happened 30 years ago. I'm not really interested. Most women didn't even know the details of the case. Those women on the panel. And although you had some of the analysts saying this appeals to the base, well, by their own standards, they said that it was undeclared people in the audience and undecided people in the audience, and he got a standing ovation from that audience. So what that showed us is it doesn't just appeal to his base. It appeals to the undeclared and the undecided. They were there that night. From from their description, they said, this person is going to ask you a question. She's undecided. This person is undeclared. Guess what? Those undecided and undeclared were cheering for him at the end. So not only did he appeal to the base, it shows that his message is resonating across the spectrum and that the lies that they're perpetrating are not working. So CNN now realizes they have a big problem on their hands. If they want ratings, they need Trump on the air. But if they get him on the air, he exposes all their lies. They don't know what to do. Masterful performance.
Dr. Grace, we have 1 minute left. Is Trump going to be the Republican nominee? And can Trump win back the White House? 1 minute.
If it's free and fair, he becomes the nominee and he becomes the next president. The problem is we've seen that we no longer live in a free and fair society.
Do you think they're going to lock him up? Do you think they're going to find a way to put him behind bars to take him out?
They're going to find a way to take him out. How that looks, I've always said he's not going to ultimately end up in the White House, unfortunately, because I think they will block him. Sadly, I still believe that. But what we see is a miracle is always possible. Look at the reaction, and I'm just praying for a miracle. Look at the reaction when he communicates directly with the people. That's his most powerful weapon, direct communication. And what he showed last night is they've got to stop him from communicating directly if they have any chance of keeping him out of the White House.
The hand of God. The hand of God. Dr. Grace putting liberals in their place. Grace Voto. Grace, he was masterful. I'm telling you, you were masterful. Great hit. Okay, we'll talk later. Your reaction next. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I want to ask you, what do you make of Grace's point that it was a masterful performance by Trump last night? And even CNN kept saying throughout the town hall, well, this person asking a question is an undeclared voter or an undecided voter. If undeclared, undecided voters, i.e. swing voters, gave Trump a standing ovation at the end of his performance, is that the reason why CNN cut off the town hall 20 minutes early? In other words, they knew that he was cleaning their clock and winning over the audience, and that Caitlin Collins had completely failed in her attempt to take Trump down. If he's winning over moderates, swing voters, and independents, how can Trump be stopped unless they put him in jail? Otherwise, Trump will roar back to power. Agree, disagree? Eric in Plymouth. Thanks for holding, Eric, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi.
Hi there. Yeah, let's look at the venue, okay, the people, places, okay. Trump did masterful, okay, yet he went into that lion's den knowing that it was a lion's den, and he's standing up for everyone in America. Okay. The moderator there, not a moderator, okay. I mean, look at she has women are going to be turned off by that, okay. So women, all people, any reasonable, rational, sensible person having had about a rape would say that person is bad. So that is what she's doing, okay? And she's saying that women, no, all people would be condemning a person that had been labeled and condemned and convicted as being a rapist. It's horrifying. But Trump did masterful. She's in front of the train. And I'm a little bit nervous again, Jeff.
No, Eric, there's no point. Really, you don't have to be nervous. You're doing phenomenal. And you're completely right. Look, the whole premise behind her question was disgusting. That, after the E. Jean Carroll, civil case, by the way, and the jury found him not liable for rape. In other words, they didn't believe her story. But she's trying to spin like, well, you're a sexual predator and you're going to lose the women vote. Well, you're right. to me, I find a rapist a disgusting, revolting, evil human being. I'm not going to vote for a rapist. I never would vote for a rapist. What do you mean you lose the female vote? No, you lose the whole vote. You know, men are just as revolted and disgusted by rape as women. So you're completely right. And for him to pull off this really, I mean, just this amazing performance, it really was an outstanding performance in the Lion's Den on CNN's ground with planted questions, with not a host, but a moderator, but a freaking debater with an earpiece where the producers are firing questions and arguments into her head. And she's cutting him off at every turn. And this is what, the day after that bogus, ridiculous jury verdict awarding her $5 million that, whacker, E. Jean Carroll, the defamation suit. And he was composed. He was level-headed. He wasn't frazzled. He wasn't insecure. I gotta say, the man has nerves of steel, and his skin, that's not thick skin. That's an armor plate. And he's tough. Eric, I think what he showed last night, he's got the toughness, the intestinal fortitude to be in the White House. Again, I mean, you may disagree with me, but he stands head and shoulders above everybody else.
They're just set out to condemn him. That's it. And us.
And the contempt that they had for us, I mean, how many questions do they have for the audience? What was it, 5? And then think about this. You're scheduled to be on from 8 to 9:30, and you set them up, and it goes bad. It blows up in your face, and you don't even have the decency and the dignity, the professional integrity. Hey, we're supposed to be on for another 20 minutes. In other words, this was not 9:10, 9:30. So respect the audience, the voters, and if you have nothing left to say, fine, let the voters ask their questions. And they didn't want to do that. Because as you point out, Eric, he got better and stronger and better and stronger. And so these aren't journalists. They were so unmasked last night. These are Democratic activists, hacks, masquerading as journalists. Eric, thank you so much for that call. I mean, your job is not to tip the scales and say, woo, oh no, he's doing too well. Oh no, oh my God, he's answering every question at such a convincing level. He's winning over the audience. Okay, cut the mic, cut it. Let's go early. Let's break early. Your job is to ask and see what he answers. He does well. Okay. He doesn't. Fine. That's not your job. You're not there to pick winners and losers. They were there to destroy him. And instead, he destroyed them. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Let me throw this log on the fire. Trump yesterday unequivocally said, for many of those rotting in that gulag in Washington, D.C., the January Sixers, as they're called, most of them will get a pardon. He goes, you elect me, and I will end this persecution of those who have been unfairly targeted and maligned. I'm going to play that cut, get your reaction.
Will you pardon the January 6 rioters who were convicted of federal offenses?
I am inclined to pardon many of them. I can't say for every single one, because a couple of them probably they got out of control. But, when you look at Antifa, what they've done to Portland, and if you look at Antifa, look at what they've done to Minneapolis and so many other places. Look at what they did to Seattle. And BLM. Many people were killed. These people, I'm not trying to justify anything, but you have two standards of justice in this country, and what they've done, and I love that question, because what they've done to so many people is nothing.
Yeah, baby. Oh, Caitlin Collins, you should have seen her face. She was, I thought the poor woman, 31 is very young to get a cardiac arrest. I was looking at her, I'm like, don't drop dead of a heart attack. Don't. Her head was going to blow. Her head was going to explode. Oh, she was so irritated. How can you say you're going to pardon them and then start talking about Black Lives Matter? You can't say that. 9:32 on the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. So Trump says, you put me back in the White House. I'm not saying everyone's getting pardoned, but a lot of the January 6ers are going to get a get-out-of-jail card pass from me. I will pardon them because they've been unfairly targeted, persecuted, and harassed. Listen now to Trump saying she may not like it, CNN may not like it, and the media may not like it. But facts are facts are facts. And these people, the January 6ers, should not be rotting for years and years in jail for what's at worst trespassing. Roll cut 8A, Mike.
What they've done to these people, they've persecuted these people. And yeah, my answer is I am most likely, if I get in, I will most likely, I would say it will be a large portion of them. They did and it'll be very early on. And they're living in hell right now.
So when it comes
they're
to
living
pardons,
in hell. And they're policemen, and they're firemen, and they're soldiers, and they're carpenters and electricians, and they're great people. Many of them are just great people.
Oh, I thought she was going to choke him. I mean, you looked at Caitlin Collins like, that's why they had to call it off early. She did. The woman, like, I can't take my blood pressure. Something's going to pop. I can't take it. She didn't know what to do. He gave answer after answer that to me showed courage, showed character, showed conviction, and most of the country is saying amen. My prediction, he could give them the biggest rating CNN ever had. They're never going to have him back on again because he's too dangerous. He exposed all of the media's lies. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Bobby in Haverhill. Thanks for holding, Bobby, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
I just wanted to tell you that I just picked up our local paper, and on the second page, the title is Trump Attacks Accuser During New Hampshire Town Hall. That was the focal point here. But anyway, and I looked down, and it had all of the things that Trump talked about last night. I think what we have to really realize is Donald Trump, first of all, is a businessman. And this is what we need in our country. Everything relies on our economy. This is where people are hurting right now. Secondly, he's a politician. Thank God it's not the other way around. Otherwise, he'd be like all the other ones. He can sit down. He's well-versed. He's concise, precise. His figures are correct. He's off the cuff. He's a regular human being. He can go both ways. He can make you laugh. He can make you cry. He can make you so proud of him in so many ways. And this is because he reaches out to people in a different way. That's been his background. When I see something like this girl, Katie Collins, I looked up. She's worth over $1 million now a year. My goodness, at 31 years old, how would she like to be in some of the situations that struggling people are in today, where she can just sit down and just ridicule and try to do these things to a person like Donald Trump to try to bring him down? It's not right. And neither are the people that are writing these news articles. If you aren't good with the media, the media can destroy, and that's what it does all the time. It slants articles. And some people who aren't informed or don't care, some of the ones that do all the complaining, they don't even vote. You have those who are Republicans, staunch Republicans for Donald Trump, and they'll stay that way. Those who will never vote for Donald Trump no matter what because of certain reasons. It's the man in the middle, the undecided, that you have to get. And last night I was a little disappointed because I thought we'd get questions from those people who are undecided. And I wasn't sure where they got the questions from because they were read. Did they write them themselves? And, that bothered me a little bit. When I looked at the paper today, it said that there was a small group of anti-Trump protesters outside, and they were holding signs that say, nobody is above the law.
Oh, bingo. Bobby, look, you made a lot of very good points. Thank you so much for that call. He was clearly winning over the entire crowd. And there were many independents, many swing voters, many undecided voters in the crowd. CNN is looking and saying, this is not what we wanted. This is not good. This is working against us. And so let's go. Let's end this thing because it goes on for another 20 minutes. It's going to get even better for Donald. They were petrified because if you noticed, everybody who asked a question, when he answered it, they're nodding their head. Makes a lot of sense to me. Very reasonable. I agree with this answer. It's a very strong, compelling answer that he gives. He doesn't talk like a politician. And so what they're reading the room, and what they're seeing is they love him. And what the room began to realize, and you can see was dawning on the country, this is not the crazy Yahoo, the wild man that the media has been portraying now for nearly 3 years. They portray him as some kind of a lunatic. But when you hear him on inflation, makes sense. On energy, when he talked about oil and natural gas driving every aspect of our entire economy and how you got to get that price low, $2 a gallon, even lower. And that, as he put it, the price of donuts, everything goes down. You can see the room was like, oh yeah. Hey, this guy, he knows what he's doing. When he talked about the border and saying, you're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8 million. They're just going to pour in. We don't know who they are, where they're coming from. They're bringing diseases. They're coming from prisons, from mental institutions. Like, how much of this can we absorb and take? Crime is exploding. Everyone's like, yeah, that's true. So and then again, the one on Ukraine where he said, winning and losing? Like, are you people out of your mind? I want to stop a humanitarian nightmare. I want to prevent this from escalating to World War III. I want peace, and I can deliver peace. So, a booming economy, safe streets, energy independence, a secure border, and peace. Now, I don't care who you are. A Democrat, Republican, independent voter, swing voter, moderate voter, women voter, male voter, old voter, young voter. You're looking at this and you're like, and you're trying to tell me this guy's the second coming of Adolf Hitler? You're trying to turn this guy into America's Genghis Khan? I don't think so. This is their problem. They've created a caricature, a straw man. And when he talks, the last thing he is what they've been portraying him to be. So what you saw last night was someone who was presidential, who was experienced, a successful businessman, but above all, a president and a patriot. And what you sense from him is that he fears that our country now is going off a cliff. That the very future of our country now hangs in the balance. And when he says, I did it already, I can fix all of our problems. I can do it again. The audience says he can. All Trump has to say, are you better now or are you better off when I was president? He does that, he wins. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, 617-266-6868. Brenda in Beverly. Thanks for holding, Brenda. And as always, welcome.
Jeff, I'm still smiling ear to ear, and I'm still cracking up. I don't think I've laughed that much in a long time, and it was well needed. I have an inconvenient truth. I'll use the comedic movie, which I think was very funny, from Al Gore to Caitlin Collins. She kept saying, "That's not right, Mr. President. You can't say that, Mr. President." And I'm thinking to myself, you know, they are the proverbial thought police and the word police. They always want to control, Jeff, what we think and what we say. You can't say that, Mr. President. That's not right, Mr. President. She continually tried to put him in a box, okay, because they're addicted to boxes. They love boxes. And he's like, he's having nothing to do with it. He kept putting his hand and saying, excuse me, excuse me. She kept interrupting. She must have said Mr. President 1,000 times. And he did something that was so, I was like a kid in a candy store after it was over. I was still laughing by myself in my small little apartment. I said, you did it. You nailed it. You nailed it, Donald. You hijacked that town hall meeting. And they, as you know, Jeff, and I've said it many times in your show, they are the masters of the euphemism. And because they're the masters of the euphemism, they are always controlling the narrative. And because that's been the case, unfortunately, and we have many people, I hate to say this, in the Republican Party, I'm an independent, but they're wussies, or they're rhinos, or whatever you want to call them. They allow this garbage to happen. But he was like, no, you're not throwing me into a box. I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to call you nasty, all right, because you are a nasty person in that white suit, and I'm taking control of this now. I'm done with you people. I'm taking it back, all right? We're done with the hijacking. We're done. And it was beautiful. Truth has a big mouth. Donald has a big mouth. And he said, you know what? I'm done with manipulation. I'm done with deception. You people operate off of a foundation of lies, and I'm just going to keep getting louder and louder. I'm going to keep my hand. He kept putting his hand, Jeff. You know, he kept putting, no. He kept saying, no. And then I think the highlight of the night, I was screaming in my apartment when he goes, wait a minute, and he pulled out the paper.
Yes.
The look on her face, I'm like, oh, you weren't expecting that. You weren't expecting him to read that to you.
Oh, and then he starts reading all the times he called for peace just the day before, the day of January 6th. And he went on about the National Guard troops and blew up their entire narrative. And you're right. You could see it on her face. She started to melt down. She couldn't handle it. You know what was it, that movie with Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise, A Few Good Men? You can't handle the truth. She couldn't handle the truth, Brenda.
Handle the truth, Jeff, which is why they're always trying to be a step ahead. And I hate to give them credit, but like, again, I will repeat myself. They are the masters of the euphemism, and they've been running this bleep show for a long time. And he is like the bull in the china shop. And it's like, no, we're done with this. And they're scrambling now to try to figure out, which is why they're throwing everything at him. The nut job, the wackadoodle chick, in the department store, he's done this to me. They're throwing everything at him, and he is totally Teflon Don. It's like, no. And he seems so relaxed. He seemed like he didn't have a care in the world. Like, oh, and the looks on his face, like, you're gonna ask me that question? Are you serious? You're gonna try to box me into that? Listen, I'm still glowing ear to ear. It was a wonderful showcase of his brilliance on many, many topics.
Oh, I agree.
And how ridiculous they look.
Brenda, I so agree. Desperate. I so agree. It was masterful. Really, like Grace said, it was a masterful performance. Brenda, thank you so much for that call. John on the South Shore. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Jeff, good morning.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Long time, first time.
Welcome.
And as
Welcome,
Rush
John.
Limbaugh said, I'm a seasoned citizen. The president hit the ball out of the park. It was a grand slam. It was brilliant. Now, he had Caitlin Collins flustered. Quite frankly, I don't know where they got her, whether it was at some cocktail lounge or where it was. But she was a disaster. And as your wife said, he was brilliant. He is a businessman. What we need is a businessman to straighten this problem out. He is the guy to do it. No Democrat can do it, particularly not that poor, impossible, disgusting human being in the White House. We need Donald Trump to be returned.
I agree. John, I think honestly, I think you summed up the whole show today right now perfectly. John, don't be a stranger, my seasoned citizen. Don't be a stranger. Call again, John. Right now, again, look, it's still 2023. It's May. We haven't had even any Republican primary debates. So I'm just calling it the way I see it because, it's today. But as things stand today, it is now his primary and his election to lose. Bye-bye.